doesn't roll.
This show is supported by Odoo. When you buy business software from lots of vendors, the costs add up and it gets complicated and confusing. Odoo solves this. It's a single company that sells a suite of enterprise apps that handles everything from accounting to inventory to sales. Odoo is all connected on a single platform in a simple and affordable way. You can save money without missing out on the features you need. Check out Odoo at odoo.com. That's odoo.com.
No one can see the kingdom of God unless he is born again.
I'm a born-again Christian.
It's not religion, it's a relationship.
Let go and let God.
God loves the sinner, but hates the sin.
They're not just cliches. It's worse than that. Dr. Robert Lipton calls them thought-terminating cliches.
So much has happened since then. I almost can't remember what it felt like to be caught in that moment, pulled into something big and important. A firestorm of prayer. A wind system capable of so much power. I thought I was choosing something extraordinary. I thought this would all turn out differently.
When We Were on Fire. Written by Addie Zierman and adapted by Lizzie Goldsmith. Listen to episode 1 at whenwewereonfirepodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
So, welcome to Rock That Doesn't Roll, Todd Fadel. How are you?
You know what? I'm feeling pretty good. I'm coffeeed up. Your podcast gave me a lot to think about and a lot to prepare for, so get ready.
First off, from the jump, I have to say that I appreciate your Steve Taylor pin that I can see in your video screen.
What, this whole thing?
Awesome.
You're
the second guest.
It was a total accident. What the heck?
You're the second guest who has worn Steve Taylor merch when we did an interview with them. Tim Dillinger
That's
also
right.
wore a Steve Taylor shirt.
Yeah.
And then we also had Steve Taylor himself on the show once, so that was
Yep.
So I guess let's see. Where should we start? Why don't you tell us, Todd, about how you found out about our podcast and how you pitched yourself to be a guest?
Well, I think it probably started with me being a part of the Festival of Faith and Music, and then getting to know Sarah Mason and David Dark at that festival, and getting to play it a couple of years in a row. And so, I mean, if I wouldn't have known about David, probably it wouldn't have come up in my feed. I think that's simple. The algorithm is listening. You know, that's pretty much as simple as it gets.
Podcast marketing is difficult. Yeah.
Because I'm not like following a bunch of CCM people, which I don't think on Instagram there are a whole lot that I've noticed, you know. So
it's a small group.
Yeah. So you stood out for sure. So, and I think, you know, there's mutual friends and stuff that I think that's how they get you.
Yeah. Well, I was excited because I had heard your name invoked before. And I mean, we could do just a full hour about this one aspect of your biography, which is that you were one of the people who opened the all ages venue Meow Meow in the early 2000s in Portland. I love the idea of those venues. And we even ran an episode from a different podcast out of KEXP on our feed.
Oh, nice.
It was called Let the Kids Dance. And they did an episode about the Paradox, which was in Seattle.
Paradox. Yeah, and that was Jeff Suffering.
And it was connected with the Mars Hill Church.
Yep.
I would love to talk about Meow Meow because I was fortunate enough to have all ages venues in the town I grew up in, Jacksonville, Florida. There was a secular one of Einstein A Go-Go, which my parents allowed me to go to when I was 13 with my older brother. But then also there was a venue called the Murray Hill Theater that opened
which
later.
I played.
Oh, amazing. I played it as well as a high school student. It still exists, apparently. So, and Five Iron Frenzy played there like a month or two ago. But I'm not sure about the politics on that one these days.
Yeah,
but
it's tricky.
Might have not gone the way I would have liked it to go. But
so few things do.
Yeah, but the all ages venue thing is amazing, and I love that at that moment in time. I wish it were still more common. And so, maybe tell us about Meow Meow. What were some of your best memories from it? What led you to open it? What were some challenges?
I grew up conservative Baptist, and those 18 years, I had it seemed like a clear vision of what music was supposed to be. And then when I turned 19, my dear friend Matt Zimmerman took me to an all-ages venue called X-Ray Cafe in 1990.
And was that in Portland?
It was 91. Yeah, it was in the heart of Portland. It was like 214 West Burnside, so literally right around the corner from the original Voodoo Donuts. Run by one of the Voodoo Donuts owners, Trey Shannon, and his buddy Ben Ellis. And the two of them, they were in their 20s, and they're just like, they had a stage and they put weird stuff on the walls. It was just like a pretty seminal Portland experience. But it was in my town, and I knew nothing about it.
It had a sort of dreamy quality, and you never knew what was going to happen.
The way that it felt just to be there, like just to, I don't know, it was like exciting.
It was a home for the homeless, I guess. It was a mind for the mindless. Sometimes fake, sometimes real.
A place to do whatever you want.
It was a great place to go sit on pillows and eat tons of candy.
Kind of a loose collection of people all kind of projecting their desires on a piece of real estate in a specific point of time.
And in the one show that I went to, I felt like what this show gave me in 2 sets of music gave me more than the full 18 years of church experience promised me. And it basically delivered on the promise that a life in Christian music had promised but never been able to deliver, really. And it was just that immediacy, it was distilled passion, fervor, all the things that I really would hope, and then I also later witnessed in the charismatic circles and stuff.
And just to distinguish, I know we all present here probably subscribe to the same view that David Dark has, that there is no secular music. But, But was this venue intentionally Christian, or was it just a mainstream music venue? Or
the X-Ray Cafe was just these two guys just laying under their stage to everything. There's a really great documentary by one of the founders called X-Ray Visions that talks about all the different stuff. They would have
puppet shows, slumber parties, jalapeno eating, and arm wrestling, and
roaches, the maggots that flash in light.
All in this like little spray painted black cardboard box with nails sticking out of it called the X-Ray.
Language lessons, sewing circles, super late, ask me anything kind of things, and in addition to just like Green Day played there, all these weird, but tiny little room,
so a little like a Gilman Street kind of.
Yes, and just a magical place, but really not. If you were to look at it and be like, oh, what made this so special? It was just the time and the place, and it really gave me the sense of like, this is what I want to do, and for the rest of my life, I'm like, this is what I want to do, and so. Life happened, and I didn't really get to do that. And I came back into sort of music production through my friend Mikey Bridges, who was in a band called Sometimes Sunday on Tooth and Nail at that time. But the bass player was my dear friend who introduced me to the X-Ray Cafe, Matt Zimmerman. So that's how I kind of got back into it. And then I went to a show that some friends told me that, that we're going to be at this basement of this church that Mikey was doing shows at, and that's when I met Mikey. Actually, and I just said, "I've been wanting to do this. Can I help?" and I continued to help him for like 3 or 4 years, and we kind of conceived of the idea of TomFest at that time. And then right around sort of, the midpoint of TomFest's heyday, I met Ken and Deborah Lloyd, who decided to start the Bridge. And then Mikey wanted to do a club in a church setting. And so basically Ken and Deborah met Mikey and had this vision. And so they started Spin Cycle in the same space as the Bridge. Not as any kind of evangelical tool, but just kind of like, here's this place. But Mikey knew a lot of people coming through. Rock for Life was definitely one of the organizations that was at that point in time, and so it was through Spin Cycle that Mikey's connections through that organization happened.
Oh, and the entire underground Christian punk world, you couldn't escape Rock for Life. It was it was at Cornerstone. It was everywhere. Yeah.
Well, I was in a band with one of the founders. Eric Whittington was in my Star Wars band, Twin Sister.
So it goes deep.
Yeah. So we all kind of were like in each other's bands and stuff that in that time, and so there was a pretty giant fallout between Ken and Deborah and Mikey, which I don't need to get into, and then there was this venue that wasn't having anything going on, and Ken and Deborah approached Angie and I, and we're like, we want you to start this what's your dream? And I said, to start an all ages venue, and they're like, well, why don't you do it here? I was like, I don't know. I mean, I got to, we're pregnant, and we're just, this is not a good time for us, and all this stuff. I mean, it's like, can I do this? Can I pull this off? Can I make a new X-Ray Cafe? X-Ray closed down in '94, and I really wanted to honor that spirit of Portland, and from this non-evangelical side of things, which no one importantly trusted, which rightfully so. I mean, everybody from Mars Hill, Imago Dei, any of these churches that were like, we're coming to the most unchurched city in the nation, thanks to Blue Like Jazz telling everybody that. And I was like, did you ever stop and ask why that was? Yeah. and I keep telling people is like, it's because Portland doesn't need the church, and because they figured it out without them. They figured out how to live and have community and mutual aid and all that stuff without the church. And so the church is kind of just get out of the way, and let's do what we're doing in Portland.
I mentioned the two different venues in my town. One was Christian, one was secular. They didn't they didn't cross bookings, but you were doing that. Like I heard you in another podcast talk about Calvin Johnston and having, I'm sure, like Death Cab for Cutie, all these bands played Meow Meow. Yeah. And so how did you was that a struggle for you to say, this is what I'm going to do? Or were there people that pushed back against it? Or how did that come to be? Because it seems very unique.
Well, thank you. Thanks for saying that. I appreciate that. There's not very many people that even kind of have that perspective, so I appreciate it a lot. Well, Ken and Deborah, one of the things I would say about them is that they were just, when it came to stuff outside of they came from an Assemblies of God bubble, and their one of their kids went to TomFest and kind of had this awakening. And as a result, they're like, well, what do you see? And they really trusted their kid to lead him down some sort of cool future path, And so the Bridge was sort of an outpouring to who are these people from Tom Festival? Can we serve them somehow? And, whatever. But one of the things they said early on to Angie and I, because we ended up being the music people there, which if you ever tried writing church songs for a bunch of people that hate church songs, it's no easy feat. But we did. We wrote 80 songs in that time. And but they said, do whatever. They gave us full permission. And I don't think I would have agreed to doing that had they not. I mean, honestly, I was like, because there would always be this little hook, but make sure you put this extra little, and I just told them, I said, Portland does not need another church with an Endgame. They don't. So if you want to build a real relationship with them and model the type of generous, extravagant, inclusive love that you believe that Jesus embodied, then you have to not have an Endgame. And they were like, okay. And so when they asked me to do the club, I was like, there's never going to be an Endgame. I'm never going to talk from the stage. There's never going to be Bibles handed out from those, and there's not going to be pamphlets, nothing. So the only thing that people could really get mad at is that we just met in the same building as the Bridge, you know what I mean? And I happened to be the person that did the music, but no one really bothered to ask if I had any other intentions. There are a lot of people that assumed, but no one said, well, what's your real game here? Because most of my friends, just like were my friends. They weren't my pre-notches, pre-belt notches. They weren't, because I've never seen it that way. I think the most insulting thing you could do to a person is to distill their importance to, oh man, this is a whole other podcast in my head. It is this saddest thing that there's been generations of people that have grown up feeling like the only value they have are the hours they clock in the church. And I get so angry when I hear that. My grandma, who was 90, almost 99, passed away, and in an entire memorial, it was just, she clocked her hours. Here's when she clocked her hours. This, and I'm like going, I told Angie after that, I said, if anyone tries to attempt to do that in a memorial for me, please set the fire alarm or do something, because that is so gross to me. It is the grossest thing. So yeah, when you say, was there anything? No, because Ken and Deborah said, do whatever. And I knew I had a really clarity of vision of what I wanted the club to be, just like an honor to what the X-Ray was able to do for me. And for Portland.
What years were those years, Todd?
The X-Ray was from 90 to 94.
Okay. I was just kind of trying to think about like the city of Portland at that time.
Oh, man.
Are you from Portland proper originally? Or?
Okay, so if you know anything about Portland, you have to clock out all your hours. And I know I'm saying a lot about this, but literally it is very much like, okay, I was born in Salem, Oregon. I'm from Sandy. See, there you go. But you have to say it. You can't say you're from Portland.
I would never say I'm from Portland.
Oh, are you born and raised? And you can't say,
right.
You can't say, yes, I was born and raised if you were actually born and raised somewhere else. So I was born and raised in Salem. My dad got a job at Portland Christian High School when I was 4 years old. So that's when the clock started for Portland. And then in 94... in 90, I moved to Seattle for 2 years, and then I moved back to Portland. Yeah, I know, right? Oh, gosh, believe me, I got a lot of crap for that. Yeah. And then I came back to Portland from 94, and I've been here ever since. I've never left, bought a house in 2001, and I've
God
never
is your
left.
witness. Okay.
I swear, yes, I swear. And I'm 54, so do the math. So there you go.
I was also excited when I hit the point where I lived in Chicago longer than Florida.
There you go.
Was like,
yeah.
I'm more
feel
than
like
half my life.
Chicago, Andrew and I have been going back and forth because both of our, like the major cities in our area are in the news a lot these days.
They need a lot of salt, you could say, to melt something.
Yeah, I was sending him like, the early on the inflatable frog things and stuff, saying like Portland is like the least stately version of this. It felt very Portland, like Chicago had like, it's like a community organizer with the sleeves rolled up. It was very Obama energy,
like Reverend David Black, like
and Portland,
the
they're
pepper
doing
ball
like,
to the face. And,
Portland's doing like these Baroque tea parties and salsa dancing lessons. And I was like, that is the city for sure.
Okay, so that's the X-ray. So literally, it's the X-ray effect. You know what I mean? When I look at what the outside of the ICE building looks like, I think of the X-ray Cafe. So there's this through line, and it's not just keep Portland weird. It's these people, and this is why it was so easy to make fun of in Portlandia is because Portland is simultaneously paternalistic and precious. Which is such a really scary combination, because it's like, I love this thing so much, and don't you dare touch it or exploit it, you know? And so then you get these characters that come out of that, but also you get this beautiful thing, and kind of tying into the things Blue Like Jazz for me was the ultimate tourist viewpoint of Portland.
Blue Like Jazz, I believe he's from Gresham.
No, he moved here. He moved here from the South.
Yeah, but didn't he live in Gresham?
Well, so there we go. So here's the thing. So even then, he didn't even live here. He lived in
That's
Gresham.
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. So all I'm saying. So this is.
He's a very nice person, by the way. I've met him in real life. Super
Don Miller?
nice, but
Yeah,
I'm just
Don
saying
Miller.
Gresham, Portland. It's not the same.
No, I
thing.
know, and yeah, we got.
Anyway, keep going.
We got the biggest chip on our shoulder. So what I learned about myself is my history with Christian music has gone so far back, mainly because it's important to validate the experience of young people in 80s and 90s Christian music. That we had very little. It was like what a microcosm that was, And I was looking through my records that I still have. This was like one of the first records that my parents had, Andre Crouch.
Oh yeah, Andre Crouch.
But this was the album that was like changed everything for me.
Yes, Music Machine.
Steve Taylor was involved with the Jeremiah people, and this album, if you can find it, Where Your Heart Is, has some of the greatest pop songs ever. But this is the album that changed everything for me.
Effie. I wrote about her as...
If this doesn't make it to your Instagram, I'm unfollowing.
Effie is like the first Christian music sex symbol before Amy Grant.
You said it.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Well, I'm singing for the deaf man who can hear about salvation through my song. And I'm singing for the blind man who can see the light in me and come along. Live for Jesus, that's what matters.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, those dimples, come on. But I have to say, though, I don't want to besmirch the reputation of Donald Miller. Donald Miller is, in fact, from Portland. I looked it up. So apologies to Mr. Miller.
Wait a second.
I'm so sorry.
This whole time.
Gresham is a great place, though. I mean, I'll say. Yeah, but
this
anyhow.
is why we peer review, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I lived on 130th, which is more Gresham now than it was back in the 90s. So
that's true.
So
Andrew's
I was
fascinated by this.
So about Meow Meow though, so you were booking acts that would normally be able to play wherever, How would you convince someone like Calvin Johnston or Death Cab that it was cool to play Meow Meow?
Well, it wasn't a convincing. Before
they just wanted a place to play.
Well, so here's the thing. What happened was while Mikey was on tour with his band Tragedy Ann, that happened after Sometime Sunday. Darren Vickers started booking for the Spin Cycle, which was before the big fallout and stuff. And Darren had this idea where it's like, why are we a Christian venue? What's going on? Why are we doing this? And so he started going to shows in Portland, and just like, hey, we got this club. Do you want to play in the shows? And all these Tomfest kids, and please at me, I dare you, would come in and be like, why are we having it? It's confusing, And I'm like, and I sat down with a few of them, and I was like going, dude, you guys are totally missing the point of what we ever did with Tomfest. Is that our goal was to just have a place for kids that are like growing up in that youth group setting to have music that their parents were okay with them listening to. I mean, that's pretty much it ultimately. Yeah. And so Darren started booking Death Cabs. Darren started booking Damien Jurado, because he lived in Seattle and moved down to here, and he knew the people from, he knew Damien Jurado, he knew Death Cab, he knew Jeremy Enoch, he knew a bunch of those people, and so it was just kind of like, here's this space. And so when I started it, when I started Meow Meow, it was like, I got a copy of The Rocket, which was just the paper at the time, and it just had a label. Just a label clearinghouse like Yellow Pages, and I wrote a letter that just says, "Here's Meow Meow. This is what we're about. Send your bands here." And I just sent it to every label that was in that thing. And people all it took was one show, and somebody from maybe it was Kill Rock Stars or whatever. They just said, "Oh yeah, we just told all our bands go to this venue," and that was it.
Wow.
We just said, and so every single all it had to be was like a few months in before we were like going, "Oh, this is the kind of venue it is."
Yeah.
Like it and. Yeah.
So did you ever run into things with like swearing on stage, or like could bands drink in the green room? I don't know, things like that. Or...
Yeah, I love this. This is a good one line of questioning. So in answer to your first question, at the Bridge, that was something was happening from the pulpit. So we weren't. That wasn't a big deal, which is a big sticking point for a lot of people, and still is. Sure. But there's the Mars Hill connection. They both were doing that. Yep. It's just a Northwest thing, apparently. So that was not a deal. But there was definitely some problems with using the green room as a green room, and I wasn't. It wasn't because as far as the Bridge was concerned, we were trying to do things differently where it wasn't about behavior policing, and so it was never like, oh, tisk tisk. It was just kind of like the nursery is right next door, so the smoke's going to get into there.
Just not
it was
the right place.
It was just logistically,
this,
yeah. But it was like I really deemed I work as a teacher right now, and I got my job at Portland Public Schools because my interviewer for my job position said, "Wait a minute, Meow Meow, wasn't that the safest venue in Portland when you ran it?" And I'm like going, yes. The answer is always yes when you're given a compliment like that. But yeah, so I would say that because I cared about the people so much and cared about the experience that they had, there wasn't the rampant, you didn't have some guy in the back room just like, sending out the security or whatever. It was me working the door. It was me cleaning up afterwards. It was me paying the bands in cash usually. And all these people like, K Records, Calvin Johnson, he was like, after some of the shows with K Records Showcase, I've had a wad of cash in my hand, and I'm like, going, how do you just want this? He goes, would you pay the bands for me? Because I never know how to do that kind of stuff. And Kathleen Hanna from Bikini Kill played in her band La Tigra, and this was like a couple of years before we had the Yeah play, and she came in and we had two shows back to back, and her writer, La Tigra's writer, was a pot of tea.
That's it.
And she
amazing.
And she was the last one in the venue. Yeah. Everybody was gone, and she was the last one. And I gave her the money for the night, and I just said, "Thank you so much for playing here." And it was such a beautiful moment, and that I could be a part of it, And she goes, "Next time we'll make sure that you get more of this." And then she left, and I'm just like, that's for me. That was like the X-Ray experience. It's like I get a chance to love on these people. This stage is for them, and then it's just this real experience that we're both having, and that to me seems more like what I was brought up to believe and about my faith than anything I could have learned in the church and probably still could learn in the church, you know, because we have to have these experiences and we have to have these loving moments where we're just giving stuff away. I'm giving this stage. I'm giving this moment for, you know, because I want you to know that you are important. Your voice matters. I don't care what you're saying. And that's and I mean that, you know, if you're being abusive, then no, sorry. But it's like I'm not gonna. It's like I don't agree with half of the things. I didn't agree with.
If it's art, if what you're doing is if you're making your expression, you know,
So my one of my dearest and oldest friends is Jeffrey Overstreet, and he's an author, and he's written a few books about filmmaking, and he's a novelist and all this stuff. He's a really cool person. He and I got taught by a person at Portland Christian named Mike Demkowitz, and he had this hilarious thing because he had a thing about hating acronyms. You know, just like when you get into like nonprofit stuff, there's so many acronyms, and so he thought that it would be funny that he'd make the longest acronym known to man, and it stood for what insight can be gained by a reading of this poem. And so it was all the letters W-I, you know, the whole thing. It was just like, and that was like, that just was like a line at the top of the chalkboard, you know, da, 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 da. And, but the truth is that question for me as a young believer, what insight can be gained by a experience of this? What insight, not what is important about this, not what is this person trying to say, but what insight can be derived from this experience? And if that means, when coming from whatever worldview this person is coming from, it was so easy for me to just be a fly on the wall in those shows and going, I get it. And to be like, I'm going to come back and I'm going to reflect about that, you know, because no matter what they said, it could be anti everything I'm about. And if I was reflective enough to say, what insight could be gained by me listening to this, then it really, it's a template for the way that we could just be living our lives differently, I think. So.
Rock that doesn't roll. Hey, Rock That Doesn't Roll listeners. We just want to give you an update on our Patreon support. We have been very heartened to see new people signing up almost every week to help bring this podcast to you, and we could not appreciate it more.
Yeah, so for those of you who may or may not know, this is a work of love. This is a project that comes from the heart, and so we rely on funds from dedicated listeners like you all. Thank you so much to the people who've already decided to give. It's actually, I don't know, it warms my heart. I don't know how you feel about it. Andrew, you were raised Methodist. Is your heart strangely warmed by?
Yeah, just call me John Wesley over here. Yeah. No, it is the thing that, you know, is required to make the show. You know, we are still not really paying ourselves a fair wage, but we are offsetting some of the lost potential earning time that we put into this podcast.
Yeah.
So if you do want the show to continue existing, we do need listeners to support us. And, you know, if that's not financially, you can tell people about us. You could share us on social media, do all other things. But we would love this to be something we can dedicate a lot of time to. But you know, we have to provide for our families, and we do not each have trust funds. I don't have a trust fund. You don't have a trust fund, do you, Leah?
No,
just
no,
checking. Yeah,
sad to say. Yeah.
So yeah, we appreciate all the support.
Thank you so much, everyone.
This is one of the many spots that I wish I could take a time machine back to experience myself, you know, because it feels, you know, to hear it recounted, it feels unbelievable because, you know, like Gilman Street in Berkeley, is famously like anti-Christian. Like if you're a Christian band, you're not going to get booked at Gilman Street.
Sure.
It's so punk. It's the punk Inquisitors or whatever.
Yeah, well, for good reason. I think they're
they've been burned.
Responding.
Sure.
Well, it's not just that. It's not just reactionary. It's like we don't want this happening again to the people that are here. And it will happen if we don't stop it. And there were times where I got a sense that like, wait a minute, this band is literally trying to use this as some sort of, and I went up to him and I'm like, you can't do this here. You can't. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but what you're doing is you're re-traumatizing people. And I understand that there could be other people that's like, oh, I'm traumatized by what emo bands are saying or whatever, But it's like for me, I may not have a whole lot of control with stuff, but I will definitely cut. I will cut that off. There are plenty of places that you can do that, but you can't do that here.
So I want to introduce another a text to this. That I don't know if either of you guys have read this yet or not, but this guy Adam Voith, do you know him? Todd, are you aware of? He's a booking agent. He started out with Trey Manny and Arrow Booking.
Oh yeah. Sure. I know.
I mean, he was working with, I think, probably Death Cab back in the day. But
I probably have had an email from him at some point.
Yeah, he had an illustrious career as a talent booker, but he's also an author.
Cool.
And so he's had his own small press for a long time. He's recently written a book that's fictional, but it's autobiographical in many ways, about being on the tour with Roadside Monument for their first tour.
That would be amazing.
And he's published, he sent me a draft of this novel that he hasn't published yet, but he's put up the first chapter on his website and Substack. So anybody can go look up Adam Voith and find the first chapter. And we'll probably have him on the podcast at some point to talk about this whole thing. But cool. The picture that I got reading this whole book is that it was grim to be a band like Roadside Monument trying to tour.
Right.
They were basically their best shows were house shows in Seattle, and they would like dream of getting booked at the Lounge Acts in Chicago, or like getting booked at. They talk a lot about
because
all
they're
the
on
tricks.
Tooth and Nail. Is that what you're
exactly? They had so many
it.
tricks that they would try to employ to keep people from realizing they're on Tooth and Nail. So that they could get booked at a secular venue, because that's all they wanted was to get booked at a secular venue, because playing the churches would be a bad experience for them, and they often wouldn't get paid. It was just terrible. So the Meow Meow seems like it goes against all of that entire depiction.
Well, you know what? I got to tell you, this is a perfect lead-in to one of my favorite people on earth, Danny Syme. And Danny is the drummer for Menomina. And you could argue, but the reason that Don Miller wrote and did the movie with Steve and all that stuff was because there was a Willamette Week article where Menomina was the best band in Portland or whatever. In that article, in that interview, Menomina talks about Tom Fest and Meow Meow. So Danny flipped the entire narrative of that and just said, this is what we did. We grew up in Christian music. We grew up loving Evie. We grew up loving Amy Grant. We grew up doing this. We went to this thing, which was really weird for us. And because I was able to just live unapologetically and not like, what will people think if they find out I'm a Jesus freak kind of thing? I'm like, who cares? Get over yourselves. Be an adult. You know what I mean? Like, there's dichotomies. I say that's the thing is, it's like people. It's like you're thinking. It's like it's almost like people are thinking like, well, you hurt me, so screw you, and I'm going to get you back. And I'm like, going, you know what? come at me, because I feel like I've been hurt there too. So let's have a conversation instead of it being like just purely reactionary, because that's like, you can live your life like that and just be, a boring person, or you could have an interesting conversation about it. And Bazan and I were like friends in '96 before the whole EP came out, and we played a show in Tri-Cities, Washington, and I remember just having a conversation with him. I was fresh off the tour where I played at Murray Hill, and for some reason we were on this rock and roll revisitation thing. We had like pomade and we were slicking our hair back. It was so dumb. And so imagine Pedro the Lion playing after this slick back rock and roll band. It was a tiny little sliver of my band's history, but we had this hours long conversation in the basement about like, should you be somebody as a Christian to be in the outside of this insular scene, or could you be changing it from within and modeling how to be an intelligent, emotionally intelligent, generous, and always curious person inside of this typically toxic place. And we were both, I feel like we were one side of the coin, and been dear friends ever since. I haven't talked to him for ages. I really miss him. But yeah, we started that conversation then, and I feel like we're still there. I feel like I've tried to be an evangelist of punk rock to the church this whole time. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's, to me, is really, really important. But yeah, to be in a place like Danny was, to be able to say, oh gosh, I got to be careful, but him to say, no, this is who we are. So there's nothing more punk rock than to say, this happened and I loved it, and I'm part of that too. And maybe you're like that as well. Maybe you're the same way. Maybe I still kind of secretly love this thing, and there's nothing wrong with you having multitudes inside of you, right? I mean, it's like, that's beautiful, and it's complicated, and you're not a one trick pony. And so Danny's really amazing like that, and he did the music for Blue Like Jazz. He and Menomina did, and he produced one of the Perfect Floral album. He produced Angie is in my album. He was in some conversations when the Rest Half album was being put together. Danny's just an amazing person. I'm lucky to call him my friend. And yeah, I mean, like, when you're 50s, to have any friends, it's a big deal.
Wait, you've mentioned your partner Angie. That's not Miss Angie, right? She didn't record as Miss Angie.
She's gonna love that so much. Gosh.
Is it?
No.
Okay, good. No. Just checking.
Andrew, not everybody named Angie is a CCM royalty.
I have to check. It's my journalistic duty.
That's so good. That's so good.
It's not right under my nose, and I'm missing it. So.
You're so weird to me, still singing.
Leah, are you familiar with Soul Junk?
No.
Okay, so they
Andrew's gonna break it down.
Yeah. I mean, all I know is they're like hip hoppy Christian rocky. That's that you've just tapped my entire knowledge of it.
Okay, so here's,
no, they were on 5 Minute Walk.
Yeah, but here's the thing, they're also on like 4 other labels.
Wow.
I interviewed Frank Tate.
Organic had them just for a second there.
And they were on Jackson Rubio and Sounds Familiar. They put albums out on all of those, as well as Homestead Records, which, like early Sonic Youth records were on that,
That's true.
So Soul Junk was a project. This guy, Glenn Galloway, also known as Glenn Galaxy, he was in a band called Truman's Water. He was like the lead singer. He had been recruited.
In Portland.
And this was a band.
In Portland. Yeah, I know about that.
Oh, you know about Truman's Water? Okay. Yeah. Because they got, I didn't realize this, but I just read it today when I was, brushing up, is that John Peel became a big supporter of theirs and played like their entire album straight through on his show. So he was, cresting with indie cred in the early 90s. But
that's it. Yes.
But then he left. He started doing his own stuff because he kind of came back to his faith and was making these songs as Soul Junk as a side thing. But then he left the band just to do Soul Junk. And early on, it was just like these lo-fi, like, it was experimental. Well, there was kind of hip hop.
Well, and his collaborators were just as much a part of the different changes that he would do in style and stuff like that. Michael Kaufman, who's slow row, he brought in a lot of that hip hop stuff. I know that Glenn was already kind of leaning that way with some of his projects and stuff, but when I met Glenn in '96, he was just doing the Sweet to My Soul stuff, which was kind of like G Love meets Beck or something like that, and
right, yeah.
Glenn came to a house church that we did that was born out of Tomfest, and we were sharing songs with each other. In fact, he was the one that taught me how to retune my guitar to an open E, which changes everything. Mm-hmm. But I just learned something about you, Andrew. You showed me your cards a little bit. That like you have the biggest, you geek out the most when you have. There is a Christian musician that has indie cred.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the ones that I was aware of. I mean, so the thing you might not know about me is that my brother was Sufjan's publicist.
Stop. I was Asthmatic Kitty PR called Love is Concrete. I was Asthmatic Kitty's PR from 2009 to 2011. I pitched the Welcome Wagon album to to worship leaders. I don't know, churches, but the Sufjan effect is real.
Yeah. So my brother's Daniel Gill. He was working on Sufjan stuff, and he's the one who got them reviewed on Pitchfork and all the things that sort of like blew it up. So I guess I did. I have clocked all of that stuff. I grew up caring a lot about indie cred. Yeah.
Indie cred, man. And what's funny is it's like Christian musicians chase that so much.
Yeah, that's that novel Adam Voigt wrote is so much about that.
It's so sad. It's sad because I think that if you just release the expectations around what could happen if only I was, it's like, no, I hate the fact that I lived so much of my life utterly poor and really wanting to make a difference in the world with my worldview being this weird bridge person in between things or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I had to give that up. I had to just say, I love the songs that Angie and I wrote for the bridge, and I'll never not love that. And that's the value, the end. There's intrinsic value in that. It doesn't have to have this multi-million-dollar or super credibility attached to it for it to matter. It does. Right. It's an ego thing that for me that it's taken a long time for me to even look at. And being a teacher, I'll tell you what will squash your ego real fast. Is being a teacher. I've been a music teacher at the school down the street from my house for the last 6 years, and those kids will really put you in your place.
Right.
54.
You're cooked, bro.
Yeah. You're 54. My great grandmother's. I'm like, okay. Enough.
I know we can't talk to you forever about this, but I'd like for you to give us some insights into like what's the future of music from your Portland school kids' vantage point.
Yeah, I love this.
Tell us.
I will. For one, I have to pitch something, but it's not. I'm not involved in it. But a dear friend of mine, Andre Middleton, is starting this club called the Offbeat, and it's in Kenton, which is not in Portland proper. Really, it's closer to St. John's. It's on its way. It's tough. It's still got a Portland address.
To the untrained eye, it would be Portland. But anyway.
In Kenton, in the heart of Kenton, in an old strip club, is this all-ages venue that's going to be starting. Its first show is November 14th. This guy, I got to be on a podcast with him done by Portia Sabin, the president of Kill Rock Stars. And we were talking about all-ages music. And we just were so excited about the podcast is called The Future of What, and we're just excited about just like giving these young people this thing that we got, this spark, and his ideas, like one thing after another. I'm like, he said, we're gonna say, if you want to give money to this place, you're giving sponsorships to kids to be able to come to 3 shows a month. We're doing a cassette club where we're taking board tapes, and kids are going to buy into a membership in this cassettes club that includes a Walkman with it. And I'm like, what is happening?
Amazing.
And I'm like, this guy. I'm like, if you were like, I wish I could go back. I'm like, dude, don't even look back. Come to Portland, November 14th, and talk to Andre. It's all re-happening. So so I would say Friends of Noise, the Offbeat is the future of Portland music. And everybody who was big in the 90s at that time, when Sub Pop was snapping everybody up and people were like, it was bad. It was like Shark Week here for a while, because it was just like Sub Pop would be like, I'll pick you, but I won't pick you. And it was like, if you ever seen the documentary Hype, you'll know that it's like it was over the top. That the like labels were like, who's going to be the next Nirvana and Soundgarden and all these Portland bands that were literally family bands. I mean, like they were just like going to the Clinton Street playing like a drag show or whatever. All of a sudden we're like, Elliott Smith got signed. Well, I need to get signed. Blah 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 blah. And it was yeah.
When these bands started to get popular, all of a sudden everyone wanted to find the next Nirvana. Everyone wanted to sign the next Pearl Jam.
It's so profitable. And they'll just keep taking and taking and taking, and they just don't know how to restrain themselves.
It really pisses me off. Right. Well, I like them first.
Steve Taylor, for me, meant that I could actually meet my heroes, and I know that that's whatever. But my first Christian music concert was Not of This World tour, Petra, and it was at the Child Center in University of Portland, and the dad that took us just put us up in the nosebleed bleachers for no reason, because it was a general admission show, and I didn't know until the next show I went there for the Michael W. Smith Big Picture tour.
Oh, yeah.
And I just stood right by the stage, and this band Elam Hall opened for him, and it was the greatest experience I ever had. But the person that I met, the first famous person that I met was Steve Taylor, and he was at the Christian Supply Center on Division and whatever that is, 110th or something like that. And he came in because Meltdown had just the video had just been released, and he was there. It was like the only, and I tell this story all the time because I'm a creepy super fan, and I think Steve Taylor's creeped out by me. But because I know Danny and because I know Daniel Smith, it's like he can't deny me. So if you're watching this, Steve, I know you think I'm creepy, and it's cool. We're cool. So
somehow I don't think you're the only one when it comes to
but this is what I got when I was there at the Christian Supply Center.
We used to have that.
And then this is what he did.
Nice.
You notice the Bible verse that's right underneath his signature. 1 John.
I can't see it.
1 John 2, 4, and 5. So if you're playing at home, look that verse up. And also I sent him this really, really awful song of mine, and he responded back in a postcard.
Postcard? Wow. Nice. A Steve Taylor postcard.
Wait, maybe he's obsessed with you.
No.
Oh.
No, that's not it.
It could be.
He's trying to chase all the cred I got. Hey, you keep away from my cred. It's Portland cred, so it matters even more.
Well, I was amazed that he knew Steve Albini as well as he did. When we talked to him.
He knows Steve. Doesn't he know Steve Albini because of Chevelle? I think he knows
exactly.
From Chevelle.
Yeah, I thought it was because of Daniel Smith, but he
knows from Chevelle.
Took it all the way back to Chevelle. Yeah.
The only thing I would want to ask is where can people find you if they want to interact with you? Do you have an active social media feed, or where can they find you outside your cool classroom, which I know you have to be a student?
Well, you're welcome to come into my classroom if you're a musician, because I'm really interested in getting musicians in there to show what it's like to be in an ensemble with group. That's what we're learning right now. So get in touch with me on Instagram. My email is just my name at Gmail. I'm one of the lucky ones that got there before all the numbers came in at the end.
And it's Fadel, Fadel, not Fatal.
My son, his stage name is Jasper Typical, but after he does a few more albums, he's going to go by his actual name, which is Zion Fadel. Which
nice.
That's a pretty cool name.
That sounds.
I want him to do some pretty heavy screaming in those albums.
Yes, they have to.
Well, thank you so much, Todd.
Yeah, thank you.
Well,
so
I hope
much.
we get to run into each other at some point in real.
I hope so too.
Maybe
I'm sure we
the Trader
will.
Joe's or something.
There you go. There you go. I'm sure we will at some point. We have too many friends in common.
Yeah, that's true.
Thanks for listening. You can also find us on Substack and Instagram by searching Rock That Doesn't Roll.
And of course, you should give us a rating and review on whatever podcast app you're using to listen right now. Rock That Doesn't Roll is an independent production supported by you, our listeners, and distributed by PRX.
Our original score is by Jim Cooper of Infomercial USA.
I'm Leah Payne, and the show's producer and co-host is the one and only Andrew Gill.
Remember, rock all you want, but watch it if you start to roll. Thanks so much for listening to this entire episode all the way to the end. Give yourself a pat on the back. And if you enjoy the show this much, consider becoming a Patreon member at patreon.com/RTDR. Thanks so much.
From PRX.